So today I'm going to be talking about prompts. I'm giving you 4 prompts about myself, but I want you to come up with 4 insecurities, 4 areas of life without judgment, without shame. Just write them down. That's step 1. Leave that for one day. Sorry, my ear just got a little itchy. So one day you just have your 4 things written down. Don't look at it, put it away. The next day, take one of them. So you write them on 4 papers, right? And leave it. I have mine are like this size, right? And I write big. This is another paper. This is another paper. This is another paper. So I don't write the way I write when I'm writing in my journal or my diary letter thing or on other like lists. Like this is just kind of, I have my own sort of size. So the next day you write the next one, and then after all 4, you read through it. So you're exploring different angles. So I wrote down 4, and I want you to try to find one physical, one like, at least like one behavioral, one physical like thing about you physically. Another one, something from the past, like you feel like something that happened to you, and one that is like so remember this is insecurities, so like let me just keep track of what I'm telling you. So on one, I'm hoping you're doing this now, I'm giving the time. So 1, you write what happened to you. 1, you write some physical manifestation of something. Okay, it's like, and then you write a process. There's a relationship and a process. So some process behavior. So some process you go through. This is another insecurity. And then finally, some relationship with something in your life. Something, an ongoing relationship, could be with a person, a place, a thing, or an item, or something you need something consumable, whatever it is. So I'm going to share mine. What happened to me? So how does HPV affect me? I have resentment. I got it in my innocence, my naive days. I can't face that I want a clean man, because if I was him, then why would I want someone with HPV? It has led to me having poor self-esteem because I didn't choose to get it. So what if everyone tells me, so what? Such a high percentage of people have it, but I didn't feel like it was right. And I had a recent outbreak like in this past few months, and I remember I had about 3 in my life. And I can't be sexual during it. Not only that, it's uncomfortable, even painful. And it also makes me feel like my vagina is ill, like there's a illness there. And I feel punished for something I didn't really understand at the time. And then the physical thing, I wrote a lot of hairs. So you may or may not be able to see. I saw a lady yesterday with more hair than me. So I'm not comparing myself. I'm saying this is my insecurity. And then I grow like hairs here. And I've talked about it in videos. And even now, I mean, sometimes for the Sabbath, in order to like really feel even more feminine in my body, I'll really remove more body hair. But like I have no problem. I used to walk around even like showing it. So I have armpit hair often. I mean, I could remove it, but the fact is it keeps growing back, and a lot more than, let's say, I see like a blonde woman with very little hair. And even though I have this dark hair, you could see underneath it, even in the sun, right? There's this like orangey color sometimes that comes out. It's not very bright right now. Whatever. Maybe some other video you'll see it. But like at the same time, even though I have this like dark hair on top of something like orangey hair color, I have, and when I was young it was much more orange highlights. Then I dyed it as a teenager, it never went back. But I also have this like Middle Eastern-y sense of like, why do I have this here and stuff? So moving forward, how does it affect me? Covering my legs in the sunshine if I have a lot of hairs. Feeling more feminine with my arms covered. I used to wax it, then at times, not even wax, like creams, even not even that. Then bleaching, not even that. Now I just leave it, So changing the subject if I feel it's going to come up. Sometimes I have to like avoid certain conversations or like quickly change it. I don't want to go there. Feeling less compassionate for people for their blemishes and ugliness and dirts and flaws, because I feel like I'm the one with like a bigger issue, and like they wouldn't understand me. And then not trusting people's willingness to help and the true kindness nature inside. I feel like a little bit like a freak, so like they might have something in it for them, like my own selfishness. Would I help a freak? Like, it's all about me, right? So sometimes feeling confused when I get penetrating, undivided attention, like very masculine, like a super sharp vision, intense, exposes me on some level. I feel like there's a lack of power and control that's shown over this human defect that causes me to feel or emanate inferiority or deficiency. Like, I don't have enough femininity. So when I get this hype, when I get a lot of masculine energy coming in, sometimes I feel like, even though I love it, it makes me feel sometimes like confused because I'm loving it, but then I'm like, oh no, what if they see that I'm not like feminine enough? Like, they'll see all the like problems. And then even like money, it feels like I was, in some way there's a positive here, which was like, I was protected from a lot of the rich people problems and fake friends and all that stuff, right? Because I wasn't so wealthy. But then also with like beauty appearances, I feel like I always had some little things wrong with me enough that I was protected from like the pressure put on even more beautiful people or more flawless people. I'm talking about like externally flawless, or more mainstream, like everyone wants to be like that. Okay, then I wrote, relationship, I wrote food. Because a lot of times I'll replace people with food. I will hide and then go eat food, like secret lover. Like, it feels like I have shame around it. Like, it brings up a lot of emotions, like the food situation and whether I'm eating fresh, I'm putting it in my body. It's becoming part of me. I really bond with it. Mindfulness, not scarfing it down after I'm starving all day. Like, a little bit here, a little bit there, colorful, preparing it with love. So I'm going on and on, but that's to me why it's a relationship. So I try to get soothing and fulfillment from food, and I get anxious when there's no access to indulgences, like either in my fridge or I have enough money to go to the store, or there's a time of the day that the store is working for the convenience to go get it. The store is open, or the elevator in my building's working, or because I rely on treats, or you might call it sugar coating, or sometimes I like salt or some other flavor, but like, just some treat, right? Fulfillment or hitting a spot, right? Like a taste receptor is a spot. So maybe hitting that taste because I can't hit my preference somewhere else. So things to sweeten a reality I wasn't taught I have the power to change, maybe. Also, if I don't get vitamins and minerals, or if I take in too much byproduct or unfresh, like I would call it's a degraded constitution. It's like the materials within it become like not of healthy, buoyant, lively substance, So it causes me pain and bad feelings, like my body's being made of this, lacking integrity and tightness or even stuckness, because it's trying to protect me from those areas which are not getting the right nutrition, right? So I do well when I cook for myself, grocery shop, prepare and combine tasty nutrients in creative ways, and kosher blesses me and protects me. So I feel like this really teaches me about all relationships in my life, that I'm looking for soothing, fulfillment, to hit the spot. Sometimes I don't appreciate it. Sometimes I'm trying to get the fantasy, and then sometimes I don't have the relationship built out of what really matters and being a little fake and like giving recycled materials, right? And then also like I'm not seeing with fresh eyes. I'm not being mindful. I'm not enjoying the process. And sometimes I'm just being like looking at it for convenience. Finally, how does weed smoking affect me? So this is the process behavior. So I do this to help my pain, which I'm going to talk about. So weed smoking is like the band-aid for the pain, or the crutch, okay? So the female, I want to point out, the female plants that we smoke have grown without masculinity around them. So bear in mind, I'm bringing in female, earthy herb, right, and smoking it. So I was thinking like, it can give me the courage to tolerate the pain moving through areas, and the integrity in other nearby areas, and breathe like through it. It helps me submit to the flow of health. It helps bridge the gap between the fatigue, which I could get in the body, and the stress, which happens in the mind. So in the mind, we like the fatigue, we call it calm. And in the body, we like the stress, we call it energy, right? I just want to write the words for me to remember. I wrote mental fatigue at the end of a sentence so I could remember. We don't like mental fatigue actually is like a cool way to look at it. Calmness. right? So it helps bridge the gap between that, and it also helps me connect to what my mental concepts are giving birth to in terms of bodily effects due to the holdings and the releasings. But additionally, because it's a substance and I'm consuming it, even if it's light and eerie, a sensate, it causes sensation, there will be a change in the aftermath. In other words, there's a rebound nature. It'll shift lower before returning to normal. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? Everyone says, like, well, you get higher. How could I be going lower? What's happening in between? So what happens? There's a conservation of energy factor in the body. It does other things with that energy. So let's say you'll be fine to tolerate the pain. But now you have to, like, add something to be able to tolerate the pain. Your body says, oh, okay, I'm going to use that energy to do other things. And eventually you come back here, right? Eventually you come back. And then the weed goes away. And now, at first, you're lower. It feels like something's missing. But then the body comes back and adjusts back. So that it does other things with that energy. So that's the same thing. I was saying, like, let's say we tolerate our pain. We now have more energy. We could do more with that energy. We tolerate our pain. We could do more with that energy. So a servant gets paid for his work, and a slave gives life to its master. So the self-slavery versus self-serving. So, like, if we even want to just self-serve, like the real self, the godly self, we would say, whenever I tolerate my own pain, I get energy. I'm getting paid for doing it, and then I can use that energy in other areas. Tolerate my own pain. Tolerate pain. Tolerate pain. We keep having more energy, right? However, and intensity, right? And versus a slave gives life to its master. So the slave gives me some life. I need to keep taking it in. So this plant is like a slave, right? So in other words, raising the natural threshold gives energy to the system for other stuff, right? So it's like it's a mixed bag. Feeling pain is not fun, but it has a reward, right? So yeah, you know. All right, well, I'd like to share on other things tomorrow, and I appreciate you spending this time with me. Be well.